Hello everybody, this is Shannon with Beads and Babble, here with another tutorial. We are going to do something very beginner friendly today, but looks very complex. We are going to make a bracelet that does not require any crimping whatsoever. We can mix up the beads as well if you want a more chunky version. These are 6mm fire polish with some 6mm silver plated metal beads and some 8/0 seed beads for spacers in between. Keep in mind you can mix up the beads however you like to achieve the design that you're going for. And they are very comfy because there is some stretch in the design that allows for some movement as well. You can also use a variety of clasps. This one is a magnetic clasp attached with two 7mm 20 gauge jump rings. This is another version of the bracelet using 3mm fire polished 10/0 seed beads, 10 or 11/0 you can use, and a smaller 3mm antique copper metal bead in the middle. You do not need to use metal. I just like to mix up my media. You could use a 6/0 seed bead there in the middle. Would actually go well with that. And then this is a snap button clasp that just that closes, fits together like so, and has some stretch too. And I'm going to show you here in a second the materials that we'll be using to construct this bracelet. You will need a for any of these bracelets, you'll be using different size coated nylon bead wire. For the smaller beads, you will want to use the fine, which is the 0.014 inch, which is a diameter of 0.36mm. And then if you're going, this was good for the fire polished 3mm and 4mm, because I'll explain why the diameter of the beading wire is so important with the different sizes of beads, whichever one you choose to use. And then for larger beads, 6mm and up, you're going to want to go to the medium, either soft flex. There's a variety of different beading wires that you can use. It doesn't matter. They're all the same as long as it's the correct fine medium with the diameter of the wire correlating with the size of the beads that you're going to be using. We are going to, for the next bracelet, which I'm going to be using 4mm fire polished beads and some beads that will complement them. And I'm going to use the fine beading wire for those. And you're going to want to start out with approximately, I'm going to say 30 inches of beading wire. That's about right there. This was a remnant I had left of one of my spools, so I'm going to go ahead and put that to use. Okay, and then you're going to want approximately 30 to 40 4mm fire polished and a metal bead, or you could use a 6/0 seed bead, completely what you have on hand. probably around 25 of these. And then these are 10-aught seed beads. You can use 11-aught as well. 10 grams or so. Probably won't need all that. I'm just kind of guess you don't need that many beads at all. I can give you a more specific count once the bracelet is constructed. Then you're going to need a closure. And then with this bracelet, we're going to use a lobster clasp with two 7mm 20 gauge jump rings. Now, you can use a magnetic clasp. You can use the other clasp that I showed you earlier. Doesn't really matter. Whatever clasp you choose to use will work fine as long as it will go, through the jump ring, and also whatever you're comfortable using or what you want to choose to use. You'll need some flush cutters, 2 pairs of pliers. They can be the bent nose, they can be flat nose, chain nose. They're just going to be used to open and close the jump rings and attaching the clasp. And that is it for today. Doesn't seem like a lot, does it? Because I was going for really simple, easy, but with a very professional finish at the end. So I'm going to set the tools over to the side and I will bring them in as I need them. So we're going to move those out of the way. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the beads loose. So I have them here, making sure I'm keeping them in frame so you guys can see what I'm doing. This is actually a really fun project and it comes out really nice. And it's got a really nice comfort fit, which we all know with jewelry, that's kind of an ideal aspect of it. Because if it's not comfortable, you don't want to wear it. So, alrighty. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring in our 30 inches of beading wire. And we're going to string on 7 of these 10-aught seed beads here. I'm just using the bead wire to pick them up. You can, pick them in your, up with your fingers and put it on, but that makes it really fiddly. So I use this kind of like as a needle. Okay, and then we're going to take the 2 ends and just kind of put them together so they're even here. Slide those beads down. And then we're going to grab a metal bead. And now this is the kind of important part. This is what most would call a ladder stitch. So you're going to take one end of the beading wire and go through the metal bead. Then you're going to take the other end of the beading wire and you're going to go through the opposite hole, but through the metal bead. So you'll end up with opposing strings on either side of the bead. And then you're just going to bring these back together for the first, and then pull that metal bead down to the seed beads. So it looks like this. I hope the camera's better this time. I worked on getting where I could go a little bit better of a close-up for you guys. Don't worry if it kind of gets loose down here. We'll tighten up as we go. So now I'm going to pick up one 10-aught, a purple fire polish. This is a 4mm, and another 10-aught. And then I'm going to switch over to the other string. Do the same thing. 10-aught, purple fire polish, and then another 10-aught. And then I'm going to pick up a metal bead, and we're going to repeat the ladder stitch. So that side, and then we're going to take the second bead wire and pass it through from the opposing direction. And we're going to bring it down. So you'll begin to see your pattern here. And you will continue this pattern till you get to the length of bracelet, keeping in mind that your clasp is going to add at least an inch. And you'll want to count the jump rings as well. So yeah, you're looking at an inch for the clasp in length. So if you're going for a 7-inch bracelet, you'll want to stop your design around 6 inches. So when you are putting it all together, it's the correct size for you. Then we're going to continue on here. This is kind of the repetitive stuff. And remembering to go through the metal bead in opposing directions with the bead wire. I'll show you as we get along the pattern. Now, you can play around with this design because, I mean, it's really simple stringing technique. I guess it's a combination of a stringing and weaving. But you can play around with it after you get the technique down, and with different types of beads. You can move in crystals, gemstones, but keep in mind you'll want to choose a beading wire that fills up the majority of the hole of your largest bead. And when we come to the finishing end, I will show you why that's important, because there is no crimping involved with this particular design. So you'll want to make sure that there is going to be a snug fit of the wire through the beads at the end. It doesn't take too long at all to do this. Once you get going, it goes pretty fast, actually. So we had some scary weather yesterday. We had a tornado warning. We are fortunate that it did not reach us. We kind of got the tail end of it. I have never personally experienced tornado weather. I'm originally from the West Coast, so we moved here in July. I know that that was something that we would be, you know, having to get used to as we moved here. But I'll tell you what, that is pretty darn scary and frightening. I have to give it to people that live here for the majority of their lives. That's definitely very, very real and very scary. So I forgot to switch my wires here, so I started to string this thing. Get talking and not focused. But I hope everybody that did or was affected by the tornado are okay. I know that it was really close to us and the areas, and I tried to get some information to see if there was any needs of people, you know, that needed clothing or water or something, because a lot of times the weather conditions affect that kind of, you know, things. Like our freeze affected a lot of people here locally, weren't able to get water for a while because it broke some of the main pipes that was, you know, in the surrounding areas like Jonesboro. They were really adversely affected by it. So I think it's important to be aware of what's happening in your community, and if you're able to help, to do so. And we'll just continue. I've got about, say, what, 2.5 inches already strung of this. I hope you don't mind me babbling as I continue to work this pattern, which is the 10-aught purple 4mm fire polish, another 10-aught, switching the strings. I am switching it to my right hand as I go because I'm right hand dominant, and you don't have to do that. It's just what I find works for me. and then threading through the, this is probably a 4 to 5 millimeter metal bead. And then you're just kind of stringing it, and it's definitely the ladder stitch there through the metal bead. We'll continue to go here. This is going, what? Row. I wonder, it's been a good start to the year so far, which is nice for a change. I know I've said this before, but it's been a rough last 2.5, 3 years with all the COVID issues and stuff. It's just affected people so adversely. Really thankful to have a very strong family foundation. We all get in there in the trenches and help each other out, which is very nice. Christmas was great. Very quiet for us, but since we're the only ones here, our son and his wife and their 3 daughters are going to join us here in Tennessee probably this coming summer. Our other son is in Idaho with his wife, but they will be moving. We're not sure where yet. He's in medical school. He's going to be graduating this May from ICOM, and we're very super proud of him. I'll have to post pictures of his graduation. We don't know where he's going to get his residency yet. Hopefully closer to us. And then our other son, we have 3. He is currently in Michigan right now. And his family, his wife and their 2 daughters, will be moving to Bloomington, Indiana here I guess early summer. And we're excited about that because they'll be closer to us. We were on the West Coast, they were on the East Coast for the longest time. And this makes it a lot easier for us to get together now. Which I, as a grandmother, couldn't be happier to have my grandchildren closer to us. Our friends from North Carolina visited us the beginning of this month, and that was really nice. That was fun. We went to Gatlinburg, which is an amazing place. Lots of stuff to do there. Super cool. They have an aquarium there. They have roller coasters, which, I'm not getting on that, but my husband likes that kind of stuff, and so do my sons, my granddaughters as well. I'm like, nah. The aquarium now, that's right up my avenue there. That I love fish and animals and all kinds of stuff like that, so that was super fun. And then they have a bunch of restaurants there. They have distilleries, so they have a lot of wine tasting, whiskey, and do a lot of bourbon, local stuff in here, which was really nice. Just lots of people there too, because we went on New Year's weekend. So our friends made it up, and oh my goodness, it was so busy. It's really fun though. They had a blast. We had a blast. First time we'd been to Gatlinburg since we'd been here, because we've been so busy getting the house settled into the house and the business back and into a state of organization that I am satisfied with. So was fun. Fun weekend. Let me see where I'm at here. Probably one more, and then I can put the clasp on. As you can see, this isn't too bad. It goes by pretty fast. And like I said, you could play around with different bead sizes. What I found works best for me is to keep the beads, the main beads like the metal bead and the main glass bead, approximately the same size. You can have a little difference in it, and then you can also adjust the spacers, the seed beads according to the beads. So it works out. It looks nice, but you could definitely play with it with different sizes. You'll just get more of, if you do larger beads with smaller, you'll get more texture, I guess, or show you when I finish this what I'm kind of talking about with go with different sizes. Then you'll remember you're going to put on 7 small seed beads here too, so that adds a little bit. That's probably about a 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to string on, this is going to be the closing, so we're going to string on 7 more 10-aught seed beads to one strand. Doesn't matter which side, just as long as there's 7 on there. You could string on more if you want. I find odd number works best for a closing loop. All right, and so now you're going to end up with something like this with the 7 6-aught, excuse me, not 6, 10-aught seed beads here. And then you're going to take the string with no seed beads on it, and you're going to thread the opposing direction through the 10-aught seed beads with the wire. This might be a little bit fiddly. You'll be able to get it here. Just push them through. These were kind of a bad choice, but I like the color because these tend to be a little bit more snug. But that's okay. We'll get it here. So now I have them. And it's basically the ladder stitch again. So you're going to pull them down, threads, till they're snug up against the metal bead. Takes a little working, but you'll get it there. You use like a, these are a check seed bead, a Picasso seed bead. If you use like a Japanese or a larger size seed bead, like an 8, this won't be an issue. It won't be as hard to get them down to the bottom. But this is actually a good thing because it'll keep the wire from moving through the, back through the wire. As we weave it down through the bracelet again, because this is how we're going to close off the bracelet, is basically we're going to weave the beads back down through the bracelet. So you're going to work the pattern, but you're going to go backwards. So this one coming out this side is going to go back through the metal bead. You should have enough room too to do it. So it's the metal bead. I guess if you make sure, I guess you would definitely want to pick metal beads that have a good enough hole that you can pass the string through it several times. Most will, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. I'm going to do now, I'm going to posing string. back through. I'm going to tighten everything up where I work the tails of the beading wire back through, down through the bracelet to close it off. Definitely be smarter than me here and choose a seed bead that has a bigger hole to push it through, but usually you can get a tug on it and it'll close it down. So now what we have here is the loop for the other end, and we have ladder stitched back through. So you're going to continue threading the wire back down the bracelet the opposite direction. And the reason we're doing this is because this is going to secure the end without crimping. So as I'm taking it and I'm going back through. So now it's went through the 10-aught and the 4mm fire polish, and you're going to continue to follow the pattern back through. I am going to have the most difficulty in getting it through the 10-aught seed beads. That'll be my main existence here. I did not have this problem through the other ones because I chose better. But I guess it's a good thing because that way then you guys know that you'll want to choose a seed bead that will accommodate going through this. Also, you could use instead of a 14, you could use a 12, which is a 12 around here somewhere. Yeah, this is a 12, which is a little smaller than the 14 diameter. So you could do that on this one as well. So I could also cut a and you can use your pliers to pull it like I'm doing here. You're not going to have a problem with the fire polish because the fire polish have a very consistent hole size of 0.92 usually. So they will accommodate the wire going through, this fine wire going through very easily. But it's just something to definitely keep in mind when you're doing this bracelet is the hole size of the smallest bead that you'll be using to construct it to make sure that it will accept multiple passes of the beading wire. Because you're going to need to, it's going to need to do that in order. But it's actually, you want it to be snug. That way then it's not going to pull loose. And I can already feel the tension and the wire that it is not going anywhere. And what I would do is I usually go down at least 3 links on the bracelet. So what I mean by that is I would go back down through 1, 2, 3. And then I would usually cut off very close, at the end here, so it's kind of tucked and hidden into the small bead there before the metal, because these metal beads have a big hole, so if you cut it off there, it would just stick out and cause an issue. But it'll hide very nicely in the smaller bead and stay there and stay put, because that's what you want. You don't want it coming back through as you're wearing it, or if someone, it's a gift or whatever you're choosing to do with it afterwards, you just don't want it to come apart. But this is a very pretty bracelet, and so many different combinations you can use, you know, that of beads. So you can, oh, and it's great for like if you have some bead soup laying around and you're like, well, I don't know, because it doesn't take all that many. I'll count the, and it's less with bigger beads because you don't need as many to do. Oh, dog pacing. I'm going to stop it at 2 just for the sake of this video not being too long. Go to this side, I'll finish here. Make sure I'm still in frame here. Sorry, I tend to get T-Rex arms when I bead because my eyes are so bad. And then I pull in the beadwork. Oh, jeez. I mean, I think with age, we should get better. We put in all the hard work. So instead of falling apart, I should be getting better. And if you find your bead wire is getting a little harder to, because it gets crimped or malformed, you can snip it off. You can also snip it to where the end is more tapered too. That helps getting through these smaller beads. Definitely will help with that. This is just kind of a fiddly part because cramped quarters here. The beads being strung into place. So now I'm going to cut these excess off. Through the metal bead without me wanting it to. All right, so now you'll have something that looks like this. And you'll have your wires. Pull them through. You'll take your nippers. You pull. Make sure you cut the right wire off the excess that you've threaded through. Okay. So now you'll have your bracelet. And what I was talking about with flex. See, it has a little bit of play, which is great for comfort. All right, so now we're going to take our 2 7mm 20 gauge jump rings. We're going to open them up using our pliers. We'll need 2 pairs for this. You can slip on the lobster clasp, thread it through one end, one looped end of 10/0. Make sure it's closed. Then you're going to open the second jump ring, thread it through. You can also add a series of jump rings onto this end so you can extend the bracelet an inch, you know, or so if you want it a little bit longer or want the ability to have it adjustable. So now you'll have your bracelet with the lobster clasp jump ring on one side and jump ring on the other side. And you will close it up just like that. And what I was talking about with this one is you can see I used 8/0 seed beads. You'll want to use the medium weight on these bigger beads. So you fill up the hole on the smallest bead so when you're threading back through the bracelet that you have a good connection with the wire and the bead holes to keep it, because you'll be weaving it back in the opposite direction, and that is going to be your basically your glue, your fastener to holding the bracelet together. So you can go down, like I said, 3. You can even go down further if you'd like, but it has to fit snugly in there to hold and to keep from coming out. So this is the one with the 6mm fire polish. This is the one with the 4mm fire polish, and then this is the one with the 3mm fire polish. You do not have to use fire polish, it's just what I chose to use. But as you can see, the difference in the delicacy of the beads, the size of the beads with the bracelet. So this one's probably a 1/4 of an inch wide. This one is a 1/2 inch wide, and this one is just under 3/4 of an inch wide. So you can go with the thickness however you want. You could even do 8 aught seed beads, excuse me, and yes, 8 aught seed beads with 8mm fire polish beads. However you would like to do it, but definitely a fun project, easy. As you saw, no crimping involved. You can pick your choice of clasp behind, you know, on the ends, however you'd like. And that's it. That's as simple as that. And then you have a really pretty bracelet to either wear yourself or gift. I will be back again with a tutorial, probably with some bangles. I think that would be a next nice one. Maybe a couple more earring tutorials, and I will also do some necklace tutorials as well. I'm just kind of trying to pick projects that are easy, beginner friendly, not too complicated, so we can get through the video relatively quickly, which I'm looking at the time now and realizing it's over 30 minutes, but I think that it's important to show you the whole process. But stay tuned, and if you like, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I will be putting out new tutorials and such for your enjoyment, and hopefully you'll find a love for beading and jewelry design as I have. Until next time, thank you.